Good morning, everybody. I hope that it is a beautiful day wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Track 2 of Creative Operations Europe. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. I'm Claire Carter-Ginn, and I'm a partner at Forecast, a consultancy focused on casting, content, and creative operations. And thank you for joining us today. And thank you to Henry Stewart, as Jim said, for having these great events. It's really exciting to keep these events going while we're all sitting at home. Anyways, thank you again for joining us. So kicking us off today on Track 2 is Daniel Hargreaves from Tesco, who will be talking about Agile Creative Operations. Don't forget to post your questions at any point during the session using the panel on the right-hand side of your screen. We're going to save some time at the end for Q&A with Daniel. And if you are looking for the post-COVID global operating model, 7 drivers of growth with Wunderman Thompson, please head back on over to track number 1. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Daniel. Daniel.
Good morning. Thank you, Claire. And hello from a very wet and windy Hertfordshire. I do hope the weather's better wherever you guys are, or maybe not. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'm going to talk today about the journey we've been on at Tesco and how we've implemented some agile principles into our creative ops and the success we've enjoyed as a result of that. So I wanted to begin with a quote that kind of really nicely sums up the journey we've been on. Now, full confession, I don't actually know who Mr. Maslow is, though this quote is related to Agile, but it really resonates with me because one of the key things I learned about Agile and process and ways of working in general is that rules of thumb rarely challenge a status quo and rarely mean growth. And following rules of thumb, particularly in a process context, is very unlikely in my experience to lead to growth or improvement. So a rule of thumb, if you like, is safety. It's known, it's something that people rely on, it's received wisdom. And Agile, and what I've learned is all about fundamentally challenging those and embracing new ways of working. And hopefully what I'm going to talk through will illustrate some principles that perhaps you guys can implement in your own worlds. So first, a bit of an intro to the creative services team here at Tesco. So we are 27 members strong. We sit within the marketing communications division. And we work with 100 plus stakeholders. So we provide various creative services, as you would expect, including digital design, print design, copywriting, artworking, and front-end development. And the range of our deliverables includes creative content for various channels, some of the main ones being our email channel. We provide content for our market-leading grocery websites. We do in-store point of sale. We write scripts for in-store tannoy announcements. So a whole range of stuff. And you could say that obviously Tesco, as probably many of you know, is a huge organization. There's a huge amount on our comms plan and a lot that we need to communicate across all these channels. So, we get through a high volume of requests, around 200 plus per month across all channels. And we've got a pattern of demand, which is daily. And this ranges from same day requests to longer tail stuff, but averaging out to around about 2 to 3 weeks for a creative project to be delivered. So we're a very fast moving creative services team. So a little bit about mentioning Tesco as a huge organization. So if you were to ask anyone in our team what they love about working at Tesco, it's the sheer reach that they have and the sheer number of customers that we communicate with on a daily basis. Excuse me. There's some headline stats on screen for you there. And it's, a really motivating thing to know that the work you're doing is reaching so many people. And also, I think we're all very proud of the role that Tesco actually played in being a constant and even a source of reassurance during, you know, what's been a very difficult year with the pandemic. So I think, you know, it's been quite humbling actually to be part of that. So anyway, they're kind of some of the ideas of scale and motivations that our team have. So moving on. So what I'm going to do here is just talk through a few challenges that we've had as a team in the past and that we addressed as a result of going on this journey and applying some agile principles. Now, some of these problems are, you know, a natural consequence of how we became a single team. We were previously 3 separate teams, and due to a business restructure, we came together, and we quickly discovered we had lots of different ways, fundamentally doing the same thing, and lots of rules of thumb, if you like, about how we worked, why things worked the way they did, and it was pretty clear that looking across all of these problems as a person in my role, as an operations role, was how do we become a coherent, high-performing unit and address all of these quite complicated and, you know, potentially overwhelming challenges. So how on earth were we going to do that? Well, this is how we discovered Agile. So moving on to, if you like, the I suppose you could call it a big bang moment, my personal introduction to Agile. So around the time we came together as a single team, Tesco had launched a very large project to basically re-platform the grocery home shopping website onto a new responsive platform. And our team were tasked with basically supporting with design of the content components for this new CMS system. And these were referred to as Lego blocks, hence the code name of the project, the Lego project. Now, this was the first project in Tesco where I'd had working very closely with our technology division. They were obviously very big collaborators and stakeholders in this process. And, you know, as a result of this project, I started to be exposed to all manner of terminology and language that these guys were using, which was completely unfamiliar to me at the time. Some of those you can see on screen. And while this was a very big, you know, quite scary project in a way, what really struck me was that the team, the technology team, were clearly applying a very clear methodology, and, you know, overwhelmingly sort of they were breaking it down into manageable chunks, and it was very clear what was being worked on when. Priorities were very clear, and everybody seemed to just be a little bit more relaxed, motivated. It didn't feel stuffy or rigid. Rather, everyone was just committed to delivering, and things were moving very fast. So, you know, that order from chaos theme, it really resonated with me. And, you know, as I explained in the previous slide, we, you know, had quite a bit of chaos as a team ourselves. So I felt like I wanted to investigate Agile a bit more as a result of this project, and discover a bit more about, you know, the ways of working and the principles behind it. So I'm not about to go into a huge detail about what Agile is actually all about. Suffice to say that you know, a very quick summary of Agile is it's been around for about 20 years, and it was developed by a group of engineers, people that were working in software development, and they were tired of working on, you know, rules of thumb project management, big projects which move very slowly, single big bang delivery, were very expensive, and actually didn't end up delivering too much value. And the history of sort of previous methods of products and software development are littered with examples of that. So their vision was to sort of really challenge those paradigms and those rules of thumb about how these projects are managed, And they fundamentally created these 12 principles. And really, when you boil it down, it's embracing change and working in a sustainable way and delivering value early and often. I guess these are all relevant principles, but they're some of the key ones. Really, that's the team culture and the sustainability are really, really key to it. And because that's where value comes from. When you have a motivated team who are working in a sustainable way and they feel empowered, that's when value is generated. So because Agile doesn't prescribe particular tools unless you are doing Scrum, which is a whole other very prescriptive part of Agile, but generally speaking, because it's based on principles, you can cherry pick and apply these to any environment, in my opinion, and you could be considered to be working in an Agile way, which hopefully I will demonstrate. So for the purposes of what I'm going to talk about next, I'm going to illustrate the ways that we went about implementing 3 Agile principles, which were reflect and learn, continuous improvement, and self-organizing teams. So this is the bit where we step forward, hopefully, into growth. So as a team, how did we get self-organized? So there were kind of 3 sort of pillars of our team getting self-organized. One of the first things we did was we visualized our process. So remember I said we came from 3 separate teams. We got in a room and we got post-it notes and we just mapped out our processes on the wall, and just doing this simple act was incredibly revealing, because seeing everything up on the wall just gave us a huge amount of insight from the get-go. From the output of that, we took the visualization of our processes and we consolidated them into our Agile project management tool of choice. This may vary. And we mapped those onto boards where we were going to visualize all of our process flow. So what this would give us is that all of our incoming work was going to be put in one place. It was going to flow from left to right through our phases and be clearly visible. This had a number of benefits, including status at a glance, very, very clear idea of who was working on what, when, and where things were in the process. Along with this, and this is a big one, and I guess this is a real big rule of thumb, we empowered our guys across all the functions in our team to self-assign themselves work. So that old paradigm of assigning people tasks, giving people queues of work, we got rid of that in essence. We enabled people to go take the work and pretty much work on anything that was available to work on in their particular function. So we kind of removed those human cues and those internal silos, and we let people go and take the work and work on it. Then we also committed to some shared principles. So obviously in breaking these paradigms and changing these ways of working, we obviously had to have a shared commitment as a team that we all were understanding of. When the work is there, people look at the board, they pick up the work, they give the next person or the next function in that process time to do their bit. We all do QA together, we all work as a unit, and we all understand that it's everybody's responsibility to keep all of that demand flowing and moving through our process. So we all signed up to those principles. So in my role as a creative ops person, if you like, I'm planning sprints every day. It's my job to refine and manage our backlog and to make sure that what's going into our processes is fit for purpose and clear. And it's the team's responsibility to then take that work and deliver it and organize themselves. So moving on to reflecting and learning. So how did we land reflecting and learning within our team? So here we did 3 key things. So we put workflow data at the center, at the heart of our team. What we did is we used our Agile project management tool to start to look at our lead times, how much time our tasks were spending in particular phases, and really kind of starting to capture that in a serious way, regular reports, spreadsheets, you name it. Not something that you would perhaps associate with a creative team, but it gives us a number of benefits, as I'll explain. Number one being it enabled us some really solid data to define service level agreements. So rather than somebody making a guess or having a hunch or a rule of thumb about how long a particular task or category of task or ask would take, we use the data we gathered from our workflow to define those service level agreements. And when having those discussions with stakeholders, it's amazing how it expedites that discussion because you're just working from objective data, actual timings, and it just means that everyone just focuses on the task at hand and things get agreed much more quickly. Then with that in place, we all committed, so myself and the other creative leads, to reviewing our performance, because obviously a service level agreement not worth much if you're not regularly reflecting and analysing your performance. So we regularly audit our performance and review how we're doing. And you know, while everyone is technically has to meet that a certain target, what it also does is it gives very unambiguous, very clear targets for the team to hit, which people like. People do like having a clear target to hit. Makes end of year, review discussions very straightforward. When you've got these clear measures in place, you can stay on track and all move towards everyone's shared goals as a team. So that's how we embedded reflecting and learning within the team. And onto the final principle, which was continuous improvement. So how did we embed continuous improvement alongside all of these things? So what we did, again, we had another session where we really kind of asked the whole team, who do we want to be? What do we want to be known for? And we gathered all that feedback from our team. And there was a lot around, everyone had so much input and ideas about improving our ways of working and making things better. Also, reputation was massively important to our team as well, being seen as experts, being seen as professionals, being seen to deliver a high standard of work and to know our stuff. And what we did is we coalesced that into a vision for our team and who we wanted to be. Then we needed somewhere for all that energy and ideas to go. So we needed a vehicle for that. And, what we hit upon is the idea of our team, going through a transformation period into something really impactful and powerful. And somebody in the team said, hey, let's call it Project Hulk. Why not? It gave us a little motto and a little character to associate this whole stream of work with. And then what we did is we made time and space for people in our team to actually deliver on those ideas. So we had regular sprints where the team were chipping away at these continuous improvement goals, everything from guidelines to migrating to different task management tools, templates, you name it, anything that was going to set us up operationally to succeed and to just inch us forward, we put into this project and delivered it alongside all of our BAU. So that's how we kind of put all those principles in action, if you like. And again, Agile really does emphasize measurable value as well. So here's kind of I thought I would just demonstrate this really nice view of, we run a customer satisfaction survey where we ask our stakeholders to rate us in 9 key areas. And the one on the left is the one that we ran as our baseline at the beginning, I guess, of this journey. And you can see, look, we're good and fine. Fine. There's one poor in there for innovation. Ouch. And then we run these like 2-3 times a year. And then on the right there, you can see one that we ran about a year later. And you can see we've surged into great territory. Overall, we're in great territory. And again, I really can't stress enough how motivating and this is for our team, and having these measures as objectives and as guidance for us in constantly improving what we do, and it proves to our stakeholders that we are committed as a team as well. So in summary then, I thought I would just capture the key steps that we took to embed these agile principles into our ways of working. So yeah, self-organize, visualize your process, get all your demand in one place, agree some shared principles as a team. How are you going to support it? Reflect and learn, gather data about your process, make sure you're reviewing it regularly, taking it seriously, use those insights to focus your efforts, set goals from your data, continuously improve, create a shared vision, empower everyone to contribute, give it a vehicle, and then measure customer satisfaction at the end of it to give everyone a clear idea of how they've done. So that is the journey that we've been on with Agile Creative Operations at Tesco. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your experiences and your insights. It's really interesting. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. We are going to take a few questions from our fabulous audience. There are a bunch, so we'll try to get through what we can in the next few minutes.
Cool.
First of all, and I agree with this, 200 briefs a month for a group of 27, that is large. Do you, are they all similar in size? How do you get it all done, first of all? And how do you rate them? Do you have a rating system? And also, do you flex up? How do you get it all done, basically?
So we've got, so it goes back to that SLA we've got in place, where we use our data to agree a very clear lead time based on the category of tasks. So what we did is we categorized our demand. So we have, it's again another agile thing where you can have a small, medium, large, extra large. We associate a minimum lead time with those asks, so that at the point of entry, that the person briefing us knows they're asking for a medium, it's got that lead time associated, and then it's when, as I mentioned, when I'm planning those sprints and incorporating that into our workflow, it's going in with that lead time. So everything that goes into our process has that built-in buffer, and those shared principles amongst our team, we know that we've got to deliver the work within that buffer. So in my role as the creative ops lead, I have to make sure that everything is coming in that buffer, and that does mean that I sometimes have to push back to stakeholders, get them to adjust their expectations based on the scope of what they're briefing, and that's my responsibility. And then when that goes in and it's all aligned, it's the team's responsibility to make sure that work gets done within that lead time. Of course, we operate on a management by exception principle. We do have an SLA for an actual issue, but it's very tightly defined, i.e. it has to be something that's customer facing. We're resolving an actual problem, which then gets immediate prioritization. Otherwise, everything sits within an SLA that has been categorized and sized appropriately.
That makes sense. And on that note, great question here. What are your key metrics to measure performance and improvements?
So one of the key ones I showed you there were in the deck was our customer satisfaction survey. So we have an overall perception score. So it's a combination of all of the scores we've been given across those 9 areas. So just to give you a bit more detail, those 9 areas include our attention to detail, the quality of our communication, do we innovate, whether people, do they trust our expertise, and then we gather an overall perception score. Referring back to the SLA, we also have minimum target for our SLA, which is quite a stretching goal. So as a team, we all understand that we have to hit 95% on average for the year as a minimum goal, and then anything beyond that, we're looking at more of a stretch goal. But so our key measures are those from a process perspective, but then we obviously look at content engagement and whether creative work that we delivered has led to more engagement, for example, via A/B testing. If we've proven that a particular execution drives more engagement, we take that as a success metric as well.
Great, great. And I know we just have a couple minutes, but this may be a longer question than maybe we have time for, but I'm going to ask anyway.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to turn this around from a concept to a fully working practice?
Wow. Yeah, good question. It's been, I would say our journey's been, it was about 18 months, I'd say, from when the Lego project kicked off to when we had our kind of continuous improvements program up and running. We had our, our work in one place. We had our phases mapped and all of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. We had a lot of sessions, but it was a quite a considered journey. But again, considering where we are now and the robustness of it, and it now literally is, the model that we use to this day, it's, well worth it. Good time, a good investment of everyone's time.
Mm-hmm. I think something that, excuse me, a friend of mine says is if you can spend 5 minutes being strategic up front, it'll save you 5 months later on down the line. So
and that's where the vision, the vision came in, and how are we going to get to that vision, breaking it down. It's that theme of breaking things down again, things that might seem massive and complex, just break them down. And Agile Principles gives you a methodology for doing that.
Outstanding, outstanding. Really interesting. Daniel, thank you so much for taking time this morning to spend time with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.